Hey everyone, it's Berm, and this is Level 0 Networking. Today, we're going to be doing a persistent install of ZeroTier 1 on VyOS. Why do we need to do this? Well, unlike most Linux distros, VyOS fully writes the new installation. While you might be thinking why, honestly, it's pretty smart, because this eliminates a lot of the problems that go along with a long-lived operating system with all the installs, uninstalls, and that sort of thing. However, this does come with drawbacks. Anything you install in addition to VyOS is not going to persist after the new installation. So, in order to keep ZeroTier, we're going to need to make it persistent. For this, we have two separate options. The first one is creating a Symlink to the ZeroTier 1 folder. The second option is installing ZeroTier into a container. We'll go ahead and demonstrate option 1 now. So VyOS has a directory that persists even between upgrades located in /config. If we put something in there, it'll still be there after the image upgrade. ZeroTier's config is stored in /var/lib/ZeroTier-1. So if we have the configuration stored under the /config folder, then it will persist. We're going to use Symlink for this. Let's go ahead and install ZeroTier fresh again. To do this, we're going to need to install VyOS persistently again. Let's log in. Make the screen a little bit bigger so we can see it this time. Next, we're going to do Install Image. We're going to accept all the defaults. And then once this is done, we'll need to reboot it, and then we can do our ZeroTier install. All right, now we'll go ahead and reboot. Now that ZeroTier is installed, we'll go ahead and log back in. We're going to add the DHCP to the interface, and we'll set the name server. To do that, we're going to need to go back into configure mode, and then we'll configure DHCP on the external interface. Next, we're going to do the name server. And finally, we'll commit the configuration. On top of committing, we're also going to need to save the configuration. If you don't, then when you reboot, it won't be there anymore. Let's go ahead and drop into the shell now. And we'll curl for the installation. Once this installation is done, we'll go ahead and link to the other config folder. And success! We have joined ZeroTier. It's time to link the folder now. So we're going to cd into varlib, and then we're going to move the contents of varlib ZeroTier1 to config scripts. Then we're going to link the files with the ln-s command. We'll verify that the folder is linked. As you can see, we have an arrow pointing to config scripts ZeroTier1 that shows that we're linked. For further verification, we'll look inside the folder and make sure that the contents are there. As we can see, they are. From here, we'll go inside the ZeroTier1 folder, and we're going to create another device map. Once again, the cat greater than device map command is going to allow me to put in configurations or any text really into this file. We're going to go ahead and put in our network ID, and then we're going to map it to Ethernet 10. After that, we need to hit Control-C. That's going to save the file for us. Finally, we're going to go ahead and restart the ZeroTier 1 service. The service is restarted, and we'll go ahead and join ZeroTier with our new device. 200 join, okay. Final verification before rebooting, we're going to make sure that Ethernet 10 does in fact have an IP address. It does not, and that's because we have to go into ZeroTier and authorize it. Now that we've gone ahead and authorized our device, let's check our interface one more time and see if we have an IP address. And we do. This is the same IP address that we were seeing previously in ZeroTier. We can go ahead and reboot now. Now that the system's rebooted, we'll log back in and make sure we still have a ZeroTier IP address. Right, as you can see, we do have a ZeroTier IP address. Let's go ahead and add the image now. For this part, we're going to pretty much accept the defaults with the exception of the image name. For the image name, instead of doing RC3 at the end, we're going to do new. If we do the exact same file name, then we're going to get an error whenever it goes to unpack. Now we'll do show system image and we'll verify that the default boot image is set to the one that's -new. And once again, we'll reboot the system. Now that the system is rebooted, we want to do another show system image and verify that the running image is in fact the -new. As you can see, we're running on new. It's the default boot and the running. Next, we're going to go ahead and check the interface. As you can see, there's no Ethernet 10. We'll do a ZeroTier CLI info as well. This error is telling us that we don't have a ZeroTier. I'll drop back into the shell and we're going to reinstall ZeroTier. As you can see, the interface information, previously the DHCP, the name server, all that still works. If it wasn't, we would no longer be able to do the install. With ZeroTier reinstalled, we're going to go ahead and create the Symlink again. You'll notice that when we do this, it's going to fail. That's because the file already exists. So we're going to remove the old folder and then re-add the Symlink. Now we need to restart the ZeroTier service again. When we run the command ZeroTier CLI info again, we'll notice that our original information is back. If you're still following along from method 1, we're going to go ahead and remove ZeroTier 1 before we start the Docker installation. So to do that, we're going to do dpkg-r ZeroTier-1. And this is going to remove the package for us. All right, as you can see, we have removed ZeroTier 1. Next, let's go back into VyOS out of root. For method 2, using the container, first we're going to add the official Docker into a container on VyOS. To do that, we're going to run add container image, and then where the image is located. Also, just a note, there's no progress bar for this installation, so you won't know it's complete until it's complete. Similar to the last installation, we'll need to have a folder inside of the /config folder in order to maintain persistence. To do this, we will utilize the sudo make-dir-p command, and the folder is going to be zt1 under config containers. As you can see, we received an error here. That's because we're not in the configure mode. So let's go into configure mode, and then we'll run the set command. The next command, cap-add, are allowing the specified capabilities within the Docker. So we'll go ahead and add those now as well. The next two commands we're going to run are device tun, that's device tunneling. This allows the Docker to utilize the host tunneling services within Linux. Now we'll set the container image to the previously downloaded image. The last two commands we're going to input specify the location of the installation and the map location of /config where we want the configurations to reside for persistence. As you can see, we're putting a source and a destination, the source being the config, and then the destination being the actual folder. Now we'll go ahead and commit this. We'll also go ahead and save, exit, and then we're going to show container. You can see we have one container running right now, and that is going to be the ZeroTier one. Similar to restarting the service in the last method, we're going to restart this service as well by restarting the container. To do that, we do restart container ZT1. Now, to verify that the persistent volume worked, we're going to do a sudo ls into the folder, and we see that the files are there. This portion won't be created until after the service is started, which is why we restart the service before doing the ls. Just as before in method 1, the device map is going to need to be created inside of this container. To do that, we're going to drop into the shell, cd to the ZT1 folder, and run the cat >device map. As you can see, I have the commands here. And once again, we'll use Ethernet 10. That is our network ID equals our interface. Control C out of there. For this next part, we're going to need to exit out of root. Similar to method 1, we're going to need to join the install. For this, we're going to need to go into the container using the connect command. You'll know when you're in the container because you'll have a hashtag with nothing else. Now that we're inside the container, let's go ahead and join. The command is going to be the same as it was before, except we're doing it from inside the container. Next, let's exit out of the container, and then we'll check Ethernet 10 again. You'll notice we don't have an IP address. That's because we need to go into ZeroTier and authorize this device. When we go to our members screen inside ZeroTier, you'll notice that we have a different address than we did previously. Now, let's go ahead and authorize it. Now that we've authorized the device, let's check our interface one more time. And now we have an IP address. For final verification, we're going to reinstall the image one more time to check persistence through an upgrade. So to do that, Again, we use the add system image command. We're going to go ahead and accept all the defaults with the exception of the image name. For this file image name, we're going to want to use new1 rather than new. And that's because we've already used RC3 and we've already used new. Now we'll show the system image. As you can see, we have new1, new, and RC3. That's why I wanted to do new1. And for the last time in this video, we will reboot. We will log back in. Finally, we will verify the interface, Ethernet 10, and then we will also verify that the container is still there. As you can see, Ethernet 10 still has an IP address. And we still have a container that has just come back up. In this video, I've presented two separate methods that you can use to install ZeroTier with a persistent state. Clearly, the easier method is going to be method 2, utilizing a container, since it requires fewer steps after the image upgrade. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was helpful. Make sure to stop by the blog for more information and to check out the postscript for method 1 if you're going that route. Also, like and subscribe for upcoming content to include the promised MPLS video. Have a good one, everyone.